You know that feeling when you read an email in English, understand it perfectly, maybe even laugh at a joke in it, but then someone asks you something directly in English, and suddenly your mind just goes blank, like static. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very, very common place to be. You've built up this great understanding, this receptive skill, but actually producing the language, speaking, yeah, that feels like a whole other challenge.
Exactly. And that right there is what we're really digging into today. We're not going to give you another list of phrasal verbs. Our mission here is to take apart that fear of speaking English, sort of brick by mental brick, so you can finally communicate with the confidence you actually deserve.
Right, because often at this stage, it's less about needing more grammar rules. You probably know quite a lot already. And it's much more about handling that internal stuff that's stopping your voice from coming out.
Okay, so here's the plan for this deep dive. We'll look at why confidence isn't just like a nice bonus, but why it's totally essential. Then we'll get really specific about the common fears, the ones that tend to clamp down on our ability to just speak. We'll talk about how to actually shift your mindset because your perspective is just everything here. We've also got some really interesting real-life examples and practical exercises you can start doing today, and even how positive self-talk affirmations can help.
Yeah, and as we go through all this, please remember, you are definitely not alone in this. This feeling, this hesitation about speaking, it connects so many people learning English. It's a shared experience.
Okay, let's really unpack this confidence thing first. Why is it such a linchpin? It's not just about feeling good while you're, conjugating a verb, is it? What's the actual impact of lacking confidence when you try to speak?
Well, think about those times when maybe the perfect English word is right there on the tip of your tongue. You know it. You absolutely know it. But in the flow of conversation, it just stays there. It won't come out. Or maybe you found yourself nodding along in a meeting or a chat, just hoping you can piece together the meaning later, because the idea of asking someone to repeat themselves or explain, it just felt too scary.
Oh, I've definitely been the king of the strategic nod.
Yeah.
So many times. It's almost like a reflex.
Exactly. And that right there is usually not a knowledge gap. It's a confidence gap. Confidence in this sense isn't about suddenly having perfect pronunciation or flawless grammar. It's more about having that inner okayness, that resilience to just engage, to try out the language, even when you know you might make a mistake.
That's a really important difference, isn't it? It's like the fear of maybe stumbling can freeze you solid, even if you actually have the word somewhere in your head.
Precisely. And think about this. Even people who are very fluent in English, native speakers included, they make little grammar errors sometimes or mispronounce things. It happens. The key difference is often their willingness to just keep talking despite that. Their confidence underneath it all lets them keep the conversation going, maybe learn from the little slip up, and just keep moving forward. So our main goal here isn't instant perfection. It's about building up that courage, that willingness to just speak.
Right. Okay. So the stakes are actually quite high if you lack confidence. It literally stops you from using the English you've worked hard to learn.
Got it.
Now, let's turn the spotlight onto those inner critics, those fears that really put the brakes on speaking. What are the really common ones you hear about?
Well, based on what we hear again and again, there are usually three big ones that pop up. The first is that really deep fear of making mistakes. The little voice inside says things like, what if my grammar's wrong? What if I use the wrong word? What if I sound stupid? This often comes from linking mistakes with failure, which is something society, maybe school, drills into us. But with language learning, mistakes aren't failure. They're just data. They show you where to adjust.
That really resonates. It does feel like with language, that fear of not being perfect is somehow louder.
It does, yeah. But here's a really key shift in thinking. Making mistakes isn't a step back. It's actually a core part of learning. You will say things incorrectly sometimes.
Yeah.
It's basically guaranteed. And just accepting that, really internalizing that it's okay, is incredibly freeing.
Okay, so fear number one, the classic fear of messing up. What's another one that often trips people up?
The second big one is the fear of being judged by other people. This sounds like people will laugh at my accent or they'll think my English sounds bad.
Mm.
This one can feel really powerful because it taps right into our basic human need to be accepted, to fit in.
Yeah, that fear of looking foolish or being laughed at, that can really sting. Nobody wants that.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. The reality is, most of the time, especially if you're talking to native English speakers who know you're learning, people are actually pretty understanding. Often, they admire the effort you're making. They're usually much more likely to be supportive and encouraging than critical. I mean, think about when someone tries to speak your native language, isn't your first reaction usually just appreciation for them trying?
That's a really, really helpful way to think about it. It's so easy to get stuck in your own head and imagine everyone's judging you when maybe they're not at all. Okay, what's the third common fear?
The third one we see a lot is that anxiety about understanding everything, or the fear that your mind might just go totally blank right in the middle of talking. The worry is like, what if they use a word I don't know? Or what if I suddenly forget how to say something really simple? And that fear itself can kind of trigger a mental freeze.
Oh, yes, the dreaded blank moment where your thoughts just vanish. We've all been there, haven't we?
Exactly. And look, those moments can feel awkward, sure, but they're not disasters. You always have options. You can politely ask someone to repeat themselves. You can ask them to speak a bit slower or maybe say it a different way. These are just normal communication tools, things even native speakers use all the time. And if your mind does go blank, just take a slow breath. It happens. Your thoughts will probably come back. Think of these moments as chances to practice coping strategies, not reasons to give up.
Okay, so the big three fears: making mistakes, being judged, and not understanding or freezing up. Now, for the important part, how do we actually start to, dismantle these fears and build up that speaking confidence?
All right, this is where we need a conscious shift in mindset. It's really crucial. Let's go back to that fear of mistakes for a second. Here's a core idea to really grab onto. Mistakes are not the problem. Silence is the problem. If you find you're never making any errors when you speak English, it might actually mean you're not speaking enough.
Huh. That's actually a really powerful reframe. If you're playing it so safe you never slip up, you're not really playing the game at all.
Exactly. Think about how little kids learn their first language. They make endless grammar mistakes. Their pronunciation is all over the place for a while, but they learn incredibly fast. Why? Because they just try things out. They repeat. They experiment. They use the language without this crippling fear of getting it wrong.
So we need to somehow get back a bit of that playful, less judgmental approach we had as kids.
Absolutely. You need to actively, consciously work on changing how you see errors. Instead of seeing them as proof you failed, try and see them as really useful feedback. They're like little signposts on your path to getting better. Every single time you make a mistake and then maybe later you figure out the right way, you're not going backward. You are actively pushing yourself forward.
So every little stumble, every isn't a sign you're bad at this. It's just evidence that you're actually in the ring, you're trying, you're doing it.
Precisely. They are proof, tangible proof,
Yeah.
that you are engaging with English, putting in the work.
Yeah.
And it's that active engagement. That's what really makes the difference. That's what fuels progress.
That shift in thinking feels really significant. Okay, now, do you have any examples, maybe a story about someone who actually managed to navigate these fears? Sometimes hearing a real story makes it feel more doable.
I do, yeah. Let me tell you about Kenji. He's a software developer originally from Japan, and he had a really common issue. He was great at reading English technical documents, emails, all that. He could write okay, too. But actually speaking English in, say, team meetings, that filled him with dread. He was really worried about his accent and about maybe making a technical mistake when explaining something to colleagues.
Oh, yeah, I bet loads of professionals listening can relate to that exact scenario. So what did Kenji do? How did he start tackling it?
He started really small, very deliberately low stakes. He began just narrating his day to himself in English, like silently or maybe quietly whispering, while he was coding, making coffee, walking somewhere. He just described what he was doing in English in his head or under his breath. This let him practice putting sentences together, finding the words, but with zero pressure. No one was listening, no fear of judgment.
That's actually really clever, like building your own little private English bubble to practice in.
Exactly. And after doing this consistently for a few weeks, just this internal monologue, Kenji noticed something. It was subtle at first, but he started feeling just a little bit more comfortable with the sound of himself speaking English. And that little bit of increased comfort gave him the push he needed for the next step. He started looking for chances to speak English in slightly less scary situations, like just one-on-one chats with colleagues he felt okay with.
Ah, okay. So leveling up slowly. That makes sense.
It does, and the momentum just kind of built from there. Over time, he started speaking up more in the team meetings, sometimes even offering to explain a technical point. Did he still make mistakes sometimes? Yeah, of course. But because his confidence had grown, his willingness to speak allowed him to communicate what he needed to, and actually, his fluency improved a lot just by doing it. And his colleagues, they were just glad he was contributing. They were supportive.
That's a fantastic story. It really highlights that idea of starting small, building those little wins, and how that can genuinely lead to big breakthroughs in confidence. So, building on that, what are some other really practical things our listeners could start doing, maybe even today in their daily lives, to build this speaking confidence?
Okay, yeah, there are several daily habits that can really make a difference. The first one, kind of inspired by Kenji, is that daily self-talk in English. Just set aside 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes. And speak out loud about anything, your thoughts, your plans for the day, what you had for breakfast. The important thing is just to get your mouth moving, making English sounds, verbalizing thoughts without worrying about perfection or planning every word. It's just you and your voice. No judgment allowed.
5 minutes. That feels very doable, very non-intimidating. Okay, what's another technique?
Another one that's super effective is called shadowing. Find a short bit of English audio or video like a news segment, maybe part of a podcast, anything where someone is speaking clearly. Listen to just a short phrase or sentence, pause the audio, and then immediately try to say exactly what you just heard. Really try to copy their pronunciation, the rhythm, the ups and downs of their voice, the intonation. This doesn't just help your pronunciation, it also builds your confidence in your ability to actually produce those English sounds more naturally.
Okay, got it. So, daily English self-talk for 5 minutes and shadowing short audio clips. What else?
Okay, this next one might sound a bit weird or maybe counterintuitive, but it's really important. Start speaking before you feel 100% ready. Don't wait for this magical day when you suddenly feel completely fluent and perfect. Honestly, that day might never come. Just start speaking now with the English you have right now. Accept that mistakes will happen. See them as part of the deal. Getting in there and actively using the language is truly the fastest way to get better.
So it's less about wait until I'm perfect and more about just get started and aim for progress.
Precisely. And linked to that, make a real effort to notice and celebrate your small wins. Did you manage to ask for directions successfully? High five yourself? Did you express your opinion in a discussion, even if you stumbled a bit? That's a victory. Confidence doesn't usually come in giant leaps. It's built up from all these little successful moments. So you have to actually acknowledge them. Give yourself credit.
That's such a good reminder. It's so easy to focus only on what you can't do yet. Taking that moment to appreciate what you did manage, how far you've come, that can be incredibly motivating, right? Build that confidence muscle. Okay, one more practical step.
Yes, finally, actively look for low-pressure ways to just chat in English. Maybe find an informal language exchange group, online or in person. Look for communities where the main goal is just practice and helping each other out, not pointing out every single grammar error. Just connecting with other learners who are on a similar journey can be incredibly encouraging. Kind of takes the pressure off, knowing you're all in the same boat, figuring it out together.
Those are all really solid, actionable things people can do. Daily self-talk, shadowing, speaking before you feel ready, celebrating the small wins, and finding supportive conversation practice.
Great. Now, earlier you also mentioned positive affirmations. How do they fit into building confidence? How can they actually help? Right, affirmations. They're basically just positive statements about yourself that you repeat consciously, regularly. They might sound a bit simple, maybe even a little cheesy to some people at first, but they can be surprisingly powerful tools for changing that inner voice, that internal dialogue, and building up genuine self-belief over time. Hey, let's actually try a few right now. If you're listening and you're somewhere you can, maybe say these out loud with us, or just say them in your head.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's affirm.
Okay, I am becoming a more confident English speaker every day.
I am becoming a more confident English speaker every day.
My mistakes are opportunities for me to learn and grow.
My mistakes are opportunities for me to learn and grow.
I express myself clearly and effectively in English.
I express myself clearly and effectively in English.
I am proud of the effort I put into learning English.
I am proud of the effort I put into learning English.
And one more. I am comfortable speaking English.
I am comfortable speaking English.
See, regularly repeating statements like these, even if maybe you don't fully buy into them right at the beginning, it can gradually start to influence your subconscious. It helps cultivate a more positive, more self-assured attitude towards using your English. They're not magic, but they are a proactive way to kind of nurture your confidence from the inside.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, what's the single most important takeaway message you want our listener to hold on to?
I think the core truth is this. Perfection isn't the goal here. It's really not. Brave and consistent effort is the goal. That's the journey. It's about just showing up day after day, doing your best in that moment, and learning from everything, especially the challenging bits.
And let's just quickly recap those practical things we talked about. Doing that daily English self-talk, trying the shadowing technique, really pushing yourself to speak even when it feels a bit scary.
Celebrating every little bit of progress.
Yes, celebrating the wins, however small, and finding those supportive, low-pressure groups or partners to practice with.
And please, don't dismiss the power of those positive affirmations. Really weaving them into your routine can genuinely strengthen that feeling of, I can do this.
So to you listening right now, that English speaking voice, it's already inside you. It might be a bit quiet right now, maybe a little hesitant, but it is definitely there. Our encouragement is just this. Let it out. Start letting it out. One word at a time if you have to. One sentence. Every single attempt counts. Every effort is a step forward.
And maybe think about this as we finish. What is the absolute first, tiniest action you will take today to use your English voice? Even if it's just whispering one English word to yourself right now, or reading one sentence from this deep dive out loud, or deciding you will do that 5-minute voice journal later. Just decide on that first small step. Take it. Your active English speaking journey, it starts right now.